And this is the final misconception of mindfulness I wanted to talk about, which is having to set aside a certain amount of time during the day to be, like whether it's 10 minutes or an hour to practice mindfulness. So people think, okay, I've got to set aside a certain amount of time. And for busy people, this becomes a kind of a obstacle, because they say, oh, I'm too busy to set aside time to practice mindfulness. So the good news is you actually don't need to set aside any time to practice mindfulness. You can practice mindfulness anywhere and anytime. You can practice mindfulness when you're waiting for the bus or the train. You can practice mindfulness when you're walking or commuting, whatever. You can practice it when you're seated doing work. You can practice mindfulness when you're talking to someone. You can practice mindfulness anytime and anywhere, because mindfulness is not about sitting, cross-legged in a meditative state, as I mentioned in the previous video, where there's complete silence, there's no distraction. You can actually practice it anytime, because it's all about becoming present to the inner experience we're having, regardless of where we are and what we're doing. So the informal practice of mindfulness can be done anytime, and that's the most powerful practice, is when you cultivate the practice of mindfulness in your daily life at all times, and recognizing and being aware of your inner experience, especially when you're living your life, when you're working, when you're doing all the things you need to do, and noticing how you are responding to different situations. And when you practice this during the day, you're more aware of how you're responding to different situations, and that creates a space, a gap, where you can make better decisions rather than reacting irrationally or emotionally to different situations. You can choose to act more rationally and with greater insight and wisdom. Okay, so this concludes all the misconceptions that I talked about. If you have not seen my previous videos, there are 3 other videos that talk about the other 3 misconceptions. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.